Astronauts to the moon.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to reality.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaronism, back with another video for you today, and it is a big one. Yes, today we separate the men from the boys, the ones looking for truth and the ones afraid of it. Now, by no means is this video going to prove the age-old debate, flat or sphere, but it will prove that one of the go-to proofs of the sphere is simply not true. Now, here's an interesting side story. Red's Rhetoric has said on numerous occasions that his boat video proves without a doubt the curvature of the Earth. So, if I was able to disprove that, would Red be intellectually honest enough to admit that he was wrong and that his boat in fact never went over the edge? Or is his goal simply to protect his religious beliefs regardless of the evidence placed before him? This should be interesting. So, I'll let you decide. Is the evidence that I present enough to show that boats don't go over the curvature? Or do you still think that's what's going on? You decide. But now I'll be showing everyone what is actually taking place. Now, I owe this find entirely to Rob Skiba. His video, Ships Do Not Go Over Any Curve, got me thinking about Mirage again, and I said that there would have to be signs that the water continued. So I went back, added some gamma, as well as some zoom to Red's ship video, and without any doubt, anyone who is intellectually honest will admit after this video that boats do not go over the curvature of the Earth. But first, if you want to check out Rob's video, go ahead and click right here.
Do we really see ships going over the curve?
And you can check that out and come back to this, or continue on. Now, this doesn't mean that Earth is flat. It just means that the go-to argument of the globe believers has been debunked. So, let's separate the men from the boys, shall we? Who hides in corners and throws a fit, and who is honest enough to say, okay, you got me on this one. So let's begin, and I'm going to start out with a video that in and of itself should prove that boats going over the edge is not at all what takes place. So enjoy, and remember to like and share this video, and like and share Rob's video as well, since it's the video that made me go back and look at Red's video again to find out the truth of boats going over the curvature. Now watch carefully what goes on as this day progresses. We're at about 7:30 a.m. right now, so you need to watch carefully what happens as the heat comes and around 11 to 12 o'clock and beyond, and definitely when we get to 5 and 6 p.m. And this is what I mean when I say that science lies, because science knows what's going on here, and they also know what it entails, and so they hide it. And that just simply isn't science. It's religion, it's dogma, and it's nonsense. So watch the piece of land behind the water there, and you'll clearly see what happens as the water mirages, the warmer the day gets. So take the time to watch the temperature as it nears 65 and 66 degrees, and as the weather changes, how the land behind the water seemingly will disappear behind the wall or the curvature, and when really the water is just becoming a mirage, and it basically mirrors itself or what's behind it. Kind of acts as a lens. So this video is awesome at showing us exactly what's happening when we see boats supposedly go over the curvature. Imagine, if you will, that a boat was docked at the shore across the bay here, and around 6 or 7 p.m., that boat would fall behind the wall of water. Obviously, from this video, we know that's not what's going on. So again, from this video alone, you should know now that it's not boats going over the curvature, but let's dig into Red's video and show you exactly what's happening. Alright, and here we go. Now, the question we aim to answer is, does this boat ever go over the curvature of the Earth? It does completely seem like an easy answer, a no-brainer, and I'm sure many of you have seen this video before, and so that's what you're thinking right now. Well, pretty soon you'll see it as a no-curver. And as I said in my video, Boats Prove No Curvature, there is no curvature of the Earth, and therefore boats go over no such thing. So just keep your eyes peeled. There'll be plenty of things I need to point out to you to pay attention to, and by the end, in a mere 15 minutes, you will no longer believe that boats go over any such curvature. So we've got another little boat coming along here, scootin' dootin', and we're going to pause it here in a second and I'll show you why. If you look carefully, this is the line of the water. Now, the reason for that is if you zoom in, you can clearly see that these are all reflections. They are not any different part of the boat. This is a reflected image off the water line, which is a little bit past the water line that we can see. It is a mirage effect, also a mirroring effect, and we'll show more of that as time goes on. But you can see that clearly that is the line at the bottom of the boat. It is definitely a reflected image, as you can see here. You can even see the waves in the water slightly past the water line. So now we look up at the boat again and see it taking off. And if you kind of look carefully here, you can already start to see the same thing is happening. You can see the water in front of the boat in between where the water line is and the actual boat. We'll try and zoom in here the best we can, and you should be able to see that that is clearly not the decor or the paint job of the boat. Sorry, let's scoot over here a little bit. There we go. And again, you can see the reflection of the water line. Look at the, call that a red circle right in the middle there, and you can see right through the center of it is the water line. I put a superimposed copy of the boat next to it so you could see that that is not the boat's direction, or sorry, that's not the boat's decoration. And the blue little waves over there tells you where the water is. So let's continue. Now if you look at it, it kind of makes sense. You can see that red dot, and you can see the water is right up to the center of that red dot. You can see the waviness of it. Okay, now here, again, you might look at that and say, well, what happened to the red dot? And that is what is being miraged or mirrored by the water here. In fact, at the very front of the boat, you might see the white section towards the front bottom left there, and you may think that's the boat. It isn't the boat, it's actually a reflection of the sail. And if you were to look closely here, you can see that the entire boat is reflected in the water again, and the blue squiggly lines are an example of the water. So this is what is actually happening when we see boats supposedly go over the curvature. Now again, it is easy to understand why the ancients would have thought that that's what was happening. But in today's day and age, there's no more excuses. Now here I put a little arrow, and if you watch carefully, right at that line, you will see clearly the waves of water as they run by the boat, and you can see the reflection of the left sail in the water. That's not the boat, that is a reflection. Just like in this image here of the sunset, that is not the sun melting into the water, that is the actual water. Kind of reminds you of this image here, this gentleman walking on a mirage street, and obviously the bottom of his body has been eaten up. And that is what's happening on the ocean when we look at boats. The bottom of the boat has been eaten up. Here you can look underneath that right sail. There's nothing there, whereas the actual boat, which I superimposed, had different sections of the boat there.
At this point, it looks like only the sail is visible. Kick ass.
Yeah, Red. Kick ass. See, if you really were all about science, you'd conduct non-biased tests, not ones with a clear motive to prove current known facts. See, I'm challenging those facts, and well, I just knocked one of them off its perch. Now you can see here what most people would have taken as the entire sail of the boat, that the boat had gone over the curvature, but again, there is no boat behind any curve. You can see that little notch there would be the bottom of the sail. It is reflecting, and that's all you're seeing is the reflection of the sail on the water and the sail itself, and the boat is masked right behind that little divot. It's camouflaged. Again, the blue waves are water. Let's keep going. So you can watch that little notch, and if you kind of keep your eye on it, you can see how it starts to blend. And now we've got what people think is a sail, but that's not the sail of the boat. That is the sail and its reflection. Again, if you aren't convinced by this, hold on tight, it gets better. So now we fast forward a little bit further. And to anybody, this would look like, clearly, the boat is on the other side of the curvature. So that's what you would think. But then we'll zoom in over here at this boat, racing in, and what do you see? Do you see the waves in the wake that this boat is kicking up? It's kicking up waves that are not part of the water that we can see. It's part of the backwater, the camouflage water. Look carefully, and you can clearly see that it is riding in the area that is being camouflaged and is being reflected off the sailboat. It is not riding in the water. It's riding in the actual water, but the water that's behind that hard edge. The water line is about here, and again, the curvy lines, blue lines, are the water. So let's continue on. So far, we've got no boat behind any curvature. It just doesn't happen. Again, you can see that boat riding on the invisible water. It's not riding on the water that it looks like to us. So now I added some gamma so that we could get a better view of what we were looking at. And I'll have you watch carefully because things get interesting. And keep your eye on the screen here. And as we super zoom in, we can actually watch where the water line is. And how do we know that? Well, look at the reflection behind it. We can see that that item is reflecting off that water line, which means the sails are a reflection and the boat is simply camouflaged or hidden behind that. Nothing is behind any curvature of any earth at all. Again, it does get better. We're going to start seeing lots of birds, and the birds are going to be the key to knowing where that water line is. Here comes a bird here. I drew the water line for you, and you'll see the reflection of the bird as he goes into the water. Start to keep an eye on these birds. You're going to see them left and right. Here comes another one. Did you see that one? Leaving on the right-hand side. Rewind it if you need to. And that is the water line. So again, there is no boat behind any curvature. There's a lot more water that we can't see. And that boat, which looks like a sail, is not a sail at all. That's simply a sail and then its own reflection. Again, the boat at this point is plenty far away. It is hard to see. It is becoming distorted, and just like the first video we watched that showed us what happened to that bay as the day got warmer. I'll draw the water line again here. Keep an eye on it, and you saw the bird take off from the water. And that's why you see a reflection just like the reflection of the sail. Now here we're going to see the boat driving by this green thing. Obviously the red line is the water line, and you see the top and bottom of the reflection, or the actual item, the green item, and then its reflection down below. So the water line, much higher than you would think. Just saw a bird dive into it. We'll see quite a bit more of that here coming. Again, we're zoomed in, and you can see that bird take off from the water line and dive right back into the water. You can see that the water is several levels above what we would think. We think that hard line right there is the end of the water. But the water continues, and that boat is continuing out far away from us, way at the edge of that water. Keep an eye on this water line. You'll see in a second some birds take off here. There it goes, and you can see right there, I'll pause it, the reflection off the water of the bird as it takes off. That's the water line, which means that's where the boat is. Which means everything below that is simply a reflection on the water. Hope this is making sense to you. It's certainly the truth. It certainly is exactly what's going on. It's just been something that's hard for us to decipher and figure out, but now that we know that that's what's happening, this water is just continuing. We'll continue watching here and see if we see anything else with this water line. Again, what we're looking at is the sail above the water and then the sail being reflected. Okay, you see this bird here? Pause it there for the reflection as it takes off. And it is leaping from or flying from the water line. Here comes another one. There you go. You can see that bird flying, and that bird will actually go right in front of the boat, I believe. Okay, now we're just keep your eyes out. You can never know when you're going to see a lot of birds flying around. Just watch where they come from. Watch where they dive to. They're out there playing in the water. They're in the water. Hopefully you saw that. If not, rewind it. They took nosedives out into either empty space or the water that is camouflaged. See this bird flying right in front, and the reflection is there the whole time. So that's all water. It means no boats go over or behind any curvature. They simply go out away from your view, and due to atmospheric conditions and temperature gradients and inversion, you name it, that's what's causing the problems that we see. So my question still remains, will Red be man enough, will he be intellectually honest enough to admit that he was wrong about this boat going over the curvature, or will he just take this evidence that I'm giving and refute it by saying, nope, that boat's over the curvature, which it clearly is not. There is no curvature there. The boat is riding behind that water, and the water line is even several marks above the hard line that we see. Again, just keep your eyes on the birds as they dart in and out. We'll do it again. And diving back in. So, we did have that boat going in Red's camera for at least an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. How fast was the boat going? You know, even if it was going 10 miles per hour, that pretty much refutes the idea of the curvature of the Earth. Because that boat never once went behind the curvature, or the so-called curvature. So I have to ask you, are you convinced? Or are you still holding on tight to the boats over the curve? Again, if you are intellectually honest, I don't know how you can turn your head from evidence. However, it wouldn't surprise me if I got a lot of religious hate, as I always do, from those who aren't quite ready for the truth, because it's not quite the truth that they want. Well, to those of you who are ready, be kind to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open up your mind, because there is truth inside. Till next time, this has been Jaronism.